talking now. Should we restart the video or should we just
Cut.
Cut.
Welcome back to On Air B&B Football with Bryce and Brandon and Bryce. Thank you for coming back on YouTube, listening to us on Spotify, whatever you're doing. We appreciate the love and support. In the previous video, we came at you with our top 5 hardest schedules for the 2024 season. Today, we're coming at you with our top 5 easiest schedules for the 2024 season. And we will be factoring in the results, the outcome of last season, and how teams ended up. And we'll also be bringing in what we think the teams will do this upcoming season as well, and how they will play out in the end. So before we get started with the video, make sure you go ahead, click that like button, hit the subscribe button, do us that favor. And Bryce, let's go ahead and get into the video.
All right.
So the Denver Broncos at number 1.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Bryce?
Yeah. So we have the Broncos at number 1. They are in the AFC West. You know, you have the Chiefs in there.
Yep.
That's going to be 2 tough games for them. So we did look at the Chargers as having the easier schedule possibly, but the Chargers have to travel the most miles in the NFL this year.
Yeah, the whole NFL.
Yeah. So we factored that in also, you know, saying we're factoring in everything.
Right.
So we look at the Broncos instead, who have a similar schedule, but it's possibly a little bit easier to and have to travel a little bit less.
They do have to play the Chiefs twice a year.
Yeah.
But for, you know, the team that they are, it's not as hard of a schedule as it could be. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. So they start at Seattle, which I think could be a very good game. You know, I think they're very, very kind of evenly matched.
Blockbuster trade game.
That Russell is not even there anymore.
And then he's on the team.
And then they get to go play Pittsburgh in week 2,
there you go.
which I feel like is a harder game for them, but Pittsburgh plays down to opponents, so, you know.
We'll see.
Yeah. We go to play Tampa, which I feel like Tampa's a better team, but they could win. They have a tougher game against the Jets. They go play Vegas and the Chargers. Those are back-to-back games they could win.
2 back-to-back divisional games, though. So our whole division, I mean, every division plays itself pretty tough. But I feel like our division is very competitive in division.
Oh, it is. It definitely is. Then they travel to New Orleans to face the Saints in week 7. Then week 8 they go to Carolina. So I feel like that stretch from 5 to 8 are all winnable games for the Broncos.
Very winnable.
I don't know if they're as good as some of those teams, but I feel like they're very evenly matched out those division games that they could come out of for sure. And then New Orleans and Carolina, I think they could definitely win those games too, possibly. They're all up in the air.
Right. Sean Payton plays his former team.
Yeah.
Week 7. So
yeah. So I mean, through week 1 through 8, they could win. They could win 5 to 6 games out of there. I mean, they could go
best. They're still the Broncos.
Yeah. I mean, at best, they could go 5-3 through there. I mean, it could happen.
Still got a rookie quarterback. I don't know.
You
got good coaches to go up against too.
Well, here's the thing: if you know the Broncos want to win games this year, which I don't think that's what anybody's thinking they're going to do, but if they want to, I mean, they could win. They got to win those games because week 9 and 10 they go at, and week 9 they go at Baltimore, and then they go at Kansas City week 10. Right. So those are 2 games that you look at and they're like, okay, the Broncos aren't winning. Which I mean, it's division game with the Chiefs. They could. I mean, they
didn't think that we would lose to them last year either.
Think so. But it could happen. 11, they play Atlanta, which I like Atlanta a lot more probably in that game, but you don't know what anybody's going to look like.
New coaching staff.
Yeah, you don't know.
Quarterback.
Don't know.
See.
Week 12's at Vegas, a division game. Week 13 against the Browns. 14 is a bye. They got a really late bye this year. 15 Colts, 16 Chargers, both I think winnable games for them. 17 Bengals, 18 Chiefs, which are a lot harder games. So
right, those final 2 weeks, those could be the weeks that they're, maybe they do better than what we expect, and they're fighting to get in a playoff spot, and then they got to play the Bengals and then the Chiefs, which would more than likely knock them out of contention. But either way, it's overall a really easy schedule.
Yeah, it is for them.
You got the Chiefs twice a year, which is going to be tough. You play the whole AFC North.
Yeah, you play the North.
Play the whole AFC North. So, I mean, those are 2 divisions that are tougher. So, I mean, it's...
Yeah. You do play you do play the entire
NFC South.
NFC South,
Right.
which was the weakest division in football last year. I don't know if it'll be the same weakest division that it was
I think it will be.
but I think based on the other divisions, it kind of still is.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think it will be the weakest division in football, but I do think it will also be, more competitive this year.
Yeah. So they play the strongest probably division in football, the AFC North, and then the weakest division.
Yeah. So, moving on, we got the Bears at the number 2 spot.
The Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears. So, new quarterback coming in, Caleb Williams. They got a new OC.
If you didn't know that already.
So,
First, beginning of the season, it looks very easy for them. They do have a couple tougher games, but I'm saying Bears start the first 9. They could start 7-2. Start at Tennessee.
So Tennessee, I don't know.
Those are the teams we talked about before that could.
That'll be a good week 1 game.
It'll be a little test for them, I think.
I'm excited to see Will Levis. So
yeah, first full season.
But if you're basing it off how they played last year, and they didn't make a whole lot of exciting moves this offseason, they still have the same quarterback. They had a running back who didn't do so hot last year. The receivers still aren't the greatest.
That's a decent receiving core, though. They got better.
But they're aging. They're still not the greatest. So you got to look at it from that form, and they're still technically a weaker team as of right now. Yeah. But then week 2, they got to travel to
Houston.
That's a
tough game for them.
So, I mean, if C.J. Stroud and the boys play like they did last year,
it's a primetime game too.
Not beating them. So, and in primetime, rookie quarterback in primetime against C.J. Stroud.
That loaded Houston team, I'm marking that a loss.
Be a good game.
Yeah, it could be. Week 3, they go at Indianapolis. Week 4, they go to the Rams. Week 5, they got Panthers. Week 6, they got the Jaguars. They have a Week 7 bye.
You know what? In the Panthers game, I'm excited to see last year's number 1 overall pick and who the Panthers could have had in this draft if they would have just not did that in Caleb Williams. See if what if Bryce Young comes out and just
lights it up?
That would be
doesn't light it up. Who knows?
Great. Anyways, you got the Jacksonville Jags after that, and then a bye. So then you face the number 2 pick coming off of the bye in Washington Commanders, and then Arizona Cardinals, Patriots.
I think that's a very easy stretch there. I know you're high on the Cardinals, and that could be a good game. But based off of last year,
it'll actually be a close game. Yeah.
Yeah, but then those are all rebuilding teams, which the Bears
are. You're facing all the top teams in the top 4 picks. So you have the Bears, Commanders, Cardinals, Patriots. So
the Bears are the most set up team out of all of them. So the Bears should be able to win all 3 of those games. You think?
Yeah.
Then they go Week 11. Got some division. They got 3 straight division games. Week 11, they have Green Bay, but they're at home. Minnesota, they're at home. They stay at home. Week 12.
It's going to be good, though. I think the Vikings could be better than what we think. And the Lions.
Divisions.
Still tough. Yeah, so it's still division, but then the Niners.
That's very tough. Yeah, the beginning of the season is where they got to win their games to make their playoff.
I think they can split with the Lions. I do.
I think they could split. They could definitely split every single division game, like every single division.
I just don't think the Packers.
I think they'll still split with the Packers. I think they beat Minnesota.
Place a water bet on it.
Oh, what?
Place a water bet on it.
Water bet?
Yeah. Whoever loses has to chug water.
Okay. Week 15, they're at Minnesota. Week 16, they got Detroit, which I think they can split with Detroit. Detroit might beat them twice.
It could go either way.
It's either way. I think, but Detroit's definitely got the upper hand for sure.
Right, but it's a beatable team.
Yeah, for that Bears roster, and if Caleb Williams is,
it's the best situation
at all what we think he's going to be. They can beat Detroit.
Best situation any rookie could ask to walk into, other than J.J. McCarthy. But for a player of the caliber that Caleb Williams is supposed to be, with that team, they can go along with anybody. I feel like.
Week 17 is Seattle, which I think they're a lot better team than. And then week 18, you got at Green Bay, at Lambeau. Week
Right.
18.
Which
That could
that
be a
could be a-
huge game.
I was just about to
That'd be
say,
huge.
another team that could be fighting for a playoff spot right there.
What if Bears and Packers fighting for the last playoff spot? That'd be a
That
great
won't
game.
happen because
That'd
the
be very good to watch.
Packers will be the 1 seed.
I know your Packers are your boys.
But all right, we'll move on to the number 3 spot. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers brought back Baker Mayfield, brought back Mike Evans, but they lose Dave Canales. So losing Dave Canales, the NFL realized that and they gave them an easier schedule. So week 1 they go face the Commanders at home, I believe.
Yeah, they had home.
And then you're facing the Lions,
who they played. Lions had control of that playoff game.
Right.
They were still they
were
came
tough.
back. They could have won that game. They could have.
Just makes you want to root for Baker.
Root for Baker. I like Baker better now. He's on the Browns.
Baker Goff.
Ooh,
Those 2 guys I like to root for.
that is good. I mean,
Maybe we'll talk about that in another video.
maybe
We'll see.
Baker Goff. That's a good little. I mean, I think you got to go Goff right now. Baker's looking good. Anyway, Denver. Week 3. Week 4 they got Philly, which they beat in the playoffs. Philly's had a little bit better.
It's a different team.
It's a different
We'll
team.
say that.
I mean, that's a winnable game.
But also, early in the year, the Eagles are kind of like the Chiefs in that sense of they come out hot.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's going to be a tough game for the Bucs right there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But then you got the Falcons divisional game, Saints divisional game, and then
Ravens
facing the Ravens at home.
It's a prime time on Monday night.
I think that's a game that the Buccaneers can win.
Oh, yeah. I think
they have a great run defense, and that's going to be the Ravens' offense.
Mm-hmm. They got Atlanta again. They got the Chiefs. So here's where it gets a little tough.
That was their stretch right there. You start with the Ravens.
Yeah, you gotta start they gotta start hot. They got an easy schedule through week 8. I mean, the Ravens are your toughest opponent through week 8, basically.
Yeah, I think week 7 is when their schedule starts. Me personally, that's why I think it's getting a little bit tougher.
It does for sure. Yeah, like we
Ravens
said,
divisional game, Kansas City, and then the Niners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then they got to bye week 11. But that Kansas City 49ers is going to be a hard stretch for them. But they get to come out of that stretch with a bye, reset, and then get a really easy stretch here. They got Giants. They got at the Giants, at the Panthers. They play at home against the Raiders, at the Chargers, at Dallas, but play at home against Carolina again. Then week 18, they are at home against New Orleans. So, I mean, after their bye, I mean, they should be able to go 3, 4, 5. They should be able to go 5-2, possibly.
Yeah, and they're a stronger team than what people expect.
I think, if you look at it, if you look at their schedule, you're going to be like, oh, they're going to lose against Baltimore, they're going to lose against Kansas City, they're going to lose against 49ers. But every other game really is very, very winnable.
Right.
For sure. So,
think about they're probably going to split with their division.
Yeah, they'll split some games in there. But every game for them, and they can compete against, I don't know, they can compete against Kansas City and 49ers probably. If they come out like they did in the playoffs last year, they can compete with them.
Like you talked about with the Steelers playing down the competition, the Chiefs kind of do it too. So that can be another kind of
but it's the middle of the season too for the Chiefs.
That's the weak stretch,
little stretch there. And then the 49ers, I think, will beat them, but
it's at Kansas City though, and then they have the Niners at home.
That's a very tough stretch right there.
Yeah, very tough.
But like I said, they got to come out of that with they got to bye, and then they get a very easy stretch for them.
You look at their schedule, and it's just they have about 4 teams that are really tough teams to play, and then the rest are winnable games. So that's what we would classify as an easy schedule.
Yeah, for sure.
Next team we'll talk about, keep it in division, the New Orleans Saints. So I want to start off by saying the Saints. I just realized they signed Clint Kubiak, who, if you guys didn't know, was with the 49ers last season, who ran the most motion and obviously had some of the most success. They were top 5 offense, top 3 offense, something like that. So the Saints last year, with whoever they had, ran the least amount of motion last season. So they didn't obviously have any great success. So I think bringing in that guy from the Niners could really help the Saints here and make them a little bit more competitive than they were last year. I mean, they got pretty much the same team. Pretty much. I mean, not much difference, if anything. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you look at their schedule, starting off against the Panthers, winnable game.
Yep. At Dallas, which, Dallas would either beat them by 30 or it'd be a close game.
Dallas could lose by 30.
Dallas
Too.
lose by 30. You don't know what's going to happen there. Phillies, I think a tougher game for the Saints, which, at week 4 they're in division against Atlanta, but it's in division. Never know. They play at Kansas City.
Those Atlanta, the Atlanta and the Saints games are going to be a little bit of a hot game this year for what the Saints did to them last year.
Yeah, that's true.
It'll be interesting, but
That is
then
true.
you face the Chiefs, Buccaneers.
It gets a little easy. Gets easy through these 3 games: Denver, Chargers, Panthers, and yeah. So I mean, those are pretty easy games. Another division game against the Falcons. Play the Browns, which I think that could be a good game. Week 12 bye. They play Los Angeles out of the bye week 13.
The Rams.
Sorry.
Well, there's 2 Los Angeles.
I know, you're right. Play the Giants, then the Commanders. They got the Packers week 16, which I think that'll be a very tough game for them. But then they have the Raiders and the Bucks to finish out the season.
Another divisional game. It seems like there's a theme this year of how the NFL did things, and they're making a lot of teams face each other in that final week. Which I mean, it's kind of like that in previous seasons too, but this year it feels like it's a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot of teams doing that. So, I mean, for the Saints, they're middling team at best, probably.
And the 9-8 season.
Right. They seem to be another one of those teams that they may look terrible, but they at least somewhat
they'll compete in games. Yeah,
right. Because they still got guys. They got Olave. They got Kamara. They have Olave and Kamara. But they got a decent defense, so I'm excited. So we'll see, but we'll keep the last team in division as well. A team that I'm fond of this year. A coach that I'm fond of this year. Dave Canales of the Carolina Panthers.
Panthers are going to win some games.
Stamp it. So the Panthers, obviously people are going to look at them and say Bryce Young's terrible. They're a really weak team. And you look at them on the schedule, and it's hard not to just be like, okay, that's a win. That's an easy win. That's Panthers. But you got to look at the other teams, too. When they start off week 1 with the Saints, in division game, but Saints, again, not a great team. Chargers. And if you're looking at games that they could win, those are both 2 of them. And then the Raiders, week 3. That's a game that they can...
3 games right there that, I mean, they can compete in and win. They could win the games.
Exactly. And the Panthers are known to be a team that can shock us with a random beating here and there. So,
yeah.
I mean, week 4, the Bengals. So if Burrow's healthy by that time, it's 4 weeks in. So it's a long stretch for him to be healthy. But that's a game that they'll probably lose. And then the Bears.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm higher on the Bears. I think the Bears will win that game, but we don't know what the Bears are gonna look like. So I mean, if the Bears kind of fall through and I'm not right, then Panthers could win it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what the Panthers are gonna look like either.
That's true.
So we'll see. I mean, I think it could be a good game.
Yeah.
The Falcons, the Commanders. Oh, and I do want to say I think that the Panthers. I think I saw somewhere that they're the only team with not a single primetime game.
Oh, yeah, I don't think they do.
I'm pretty sure I saw that. They're the only team in the whole NFL without a primetime game.
They have a 9:30 a.m. game.
Yeah. Primetime.
Primetime in London. Wake up at 8 a.m. to watch it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, they don't have any primetime games. They play at 1 o'clock almost every single
easiest
week.
Schedule. You could say is even the Panthers. I mean, again, there's no particular order in how we ordered these, but they're all pretty easy schedules. I mean, let's get back to it.
Yeah, it's an easy stretch for them. So week 6, like we said, they played the Falcons. It's a division game. Then week 7 at Washington, Week 8 at Denver. So those are away games, but those are games
Denver too.
Those are games that could win. I mean, then they play the Saints week 9, which is a division game. Week 10 they play the Giants. And then they and that stretch with week 11 they have a bye. So I mean, those are 4.
They got a good spaced out bye too.
So I mean, none of those teams really from week 10 are like crazy like teams. I mean, the Bengals probably are the best team that they face in that time, like through there.
Right.
But I mean, other than that, those are not
Bengals
toughest
and
opponents.
the Bears maybe, but then after their week 11 bye,
it gets a little tougher.
They have to face the Chiefs, and then the Buccaneers, and then the Eagles, and then the Cowboys, and then the Cardinals.
Yeah, after week 15, it gets a little easier. Yeah, so I mean, they have a tough stretch there after the bye from week 12 to week 15, but the Cardinals, I think, could be a good game with them. And later in the season too, you're kind of finding more about your team, and those are games where like you have upsets, and you have teams like the Panthers that come out of nowhere and just have a good week. I mean, if they're not doing good, but
I think they almost beat us either last year or 2 years ago. It was a really close game.
Yeah, I mean those teams that have nothing to play for, like nothing to lose at the end of the season, is like you don't know what they're gonna do. But yeah, week 16 Cardinals, week 17 Bucks, week 18 Falcons. So those last 2 got division games, which are always up in the air.
Right.
But I mean, overall, it's a very easy. They start off super easy. It's got to be the easiest first 10 games.
Yeah, and to not have a primetime game.
Yeah,
one more thing to add on top of it. So
yeah. So I mean, the Panthers have a very easy schedule. I mean,
then that wraps it up for us today. That's the video. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching YouTube or Spotify, whatever it is. We appreciate it. Make sure you check out the previous video of where we talked about the top 5 hardest schedules. Leave a comment on this one too, what you think. Make sure you help us reach our goal where we can talk to you, the fans, the players, the coaches, all that good stuff. But we can't do that without y'all's help. Just make sure you like the video, subscribe, share with everybody you know, whether they like football or not. It doesn't matter. And like I said, just leave a comment for us. Tell us what you think. Who are your top 5 teams? But make sure you share with everybody you know. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Peace out.